Hello and welcome. And I know this is kind of impromptu, but it is baseball season. And I want to say welcome to those of you that are watching me on X, formerly known as Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. First and foremost, during the baseball season, I get a lot of questions way over and above college recruiting. And a lot of parents that'll contact me have student athletes that are little league age, youth baseball age. And I really welcome all of these comments. And I try to make sure that I answer everyone's email, direct messages from various social media platforms. But this weekend, I don't know if it's because the weather's getting warm and high school seasons are in full swing, and we're talking pitching. And I really wanted to take the time to do this correctly. First, before we go any further, really want to let parents know this is the type of video that I am going to be answering with my membership on YouTube because I feel like parents want access. And while I can definitely answer a lot of questions, throughout the email process, the direct, I don't feel like they add enough content or context. So I prefer to do it verbally, which allows me to make sure I'm giving the right answer for your specific question. So with the membership, that is, I guess because there's a loophole with Apple, you can't do a YouTube membership on an iPhone. So you have to do it on a laptop or a desktop, kind of the old fashioned way. But in the membership section of the YouTube channel, I have created courses, four extremely detailed courses, each course with close to an hour of content that you can watch at your leisure, that have anywhere from 8 to as many as 15 or 16 modules for ages 4 to 9, 10 to 15, 15 to 19, and then college recruiting. Also going to be adding this type of content with regard to pitching, hitting, fielding, catching. I was a catcher for 37 years. My sons are both pitchers. Both of my sons played college baseball. I've worked with over 1,000 student athletes. Many are in college today. Many have graduated from college. Many are playing professional baseball today. Many are in postgraduate schools. But my point is the membership for YouTube. You get direct access to me, you get all the content you want from me. You have access to my courses, you have access to books, you have access to the college coaches corner, where I talk to all the college coaches each and every week from all levels, all divisions. If you didn't see the Chris Martin video, LSU strength coach, fantastic information. We're going to be talking to NAIA coaches, NCAA coaches. My point is, we're doing this for you to help you as parents at an affordable, no thousands of dollars to go get lessons, no thousands of dollars for college recruiting. Kicking that to the curb, $20 a month. No contracts. You want to do it for a month, check it out, great. You don't want to do it after a couple months, you just simply unsubscribe or cancel your membership. It's as simple as that. Want to let parents know tonight, over the last few hours, heard from a lot of parents when I put my post out earlier today about pitching. And the continued question is it okay to give my sons or my student athletes lessons during the season? Is it okay for them to kind of have a practice, take a lesson? Who should they listen to? And so I really wanted to answer this question. I think we as adults, we try to put too many what I call 50-cent words, which make young student athletes, and I'm going to say young between the ages of, say, 8 to 14 or 15, it makes them too cerebral. They start thinking too much, and they don't just move in a creative or instinctual way. And so the question on the table from lots of parents that have contacted me over the last few days is, how can I get my student athlete to be confident in throwing strikes? And I'm going to give you two drills. Now, I want to let you know I've been doing these two drills for over 30 years. This isn't something that's a fly by night. This isn't technology driven. This isn't a gadget or a gadget. This is something that takes little to no money for you as a parent. And we don't have to coach our athletes or cue our athletes, which is huge. When we start over talking to young athletes while they're moving, they begin to get too robotic. And if we want to know the number one reason why a lot of young athletes struggle and are stressed, it's because they're taking too much verbal input. They're listening to too much white noise from instructors, white noise from coaches, white noise from parents. So we have to simplify the approach. Young pitchers, and I'm talking about those pitchers initially that are starting out between 45 feet or Little League and 50 feet, which is commonly referred to as the Ripken 50-70 or the 45-60 of youth leagues. Don't want to talk about pickoff moves. I'm going to talk about first the number one drill that you want to begin to do almost daily if you can. Obviously, this is the time of year, weather's conducive, you're outside. Let's assume you have a backyard or a ballpark or a schoolyard where you have space. You don't need a pitching mound. You do not need a pitching mound. And what I want you to understand is your goal is to get your student athlete to simply step off, say 30 or 40 feet. Doesn't have to always be 45 or 50 feet, can be a little bit shorter. And all you want them to do is to simply begin to learn how to throw into a ball bucket that is tipped down so the open space is sitting on the ground. Now, let's just explain why that's a big deal. The first thing you want to do is understand when you have young pitchers, in order for them to throw distance, a lot of time their hand will get underneath the baseball. So let's grab a ball. And what I want to do is I want to have you think they get under a ball. So our first part of our drill is to get them to get on top of the ball and throw downhill. I don't really need you to think too much about pitching. Most times when we start thinking about pitching mechanics, I'm going to get there, but when we start thinking about pitching mechanics, it convolutes everything. So if you just have a bucket of balls by your student athlete, an empty bucket that is approximately 40, maybe 35, 40 feet away, and get them to understand that you want them to throw baseballs accurately into that ball bucket, that empty ball bucket. What you're teaching them instinctively is to get on top of the ball and drive the baseball downhill. That's the first part of the drill. If you want to simulate a pitching mound, a pitching rubber, whether it's just a line on concrete, a line in the dirt, you're actually on a pitching mound at a little league field. You want to take the bucket and put it on the outside half to their glove side. So if you are a right-handed pitcher, a young right-handed pitcher, you want to put the ball bucket on the left side if we're facing home plate, on the outer left side. Again, facing it so the empty side of the bucket is looking at your student athlete. And what you want to do is you want them to begin to throw the baseball to their arm side. Now let's talk about why. When a young athlete is beginning to get on top of the ball and trying to hit their glove side location, which means the ball is going to travel to their glove side of home plate. That's going to teach them how to get out over their front knee without us having to tell them what they're trying to do. We don't want to confuse young athletes with getting them to understand getting your chin out over your front knee and getting out your hand extended out over your front knee. So a simple drill that can help your athletes be more confident with throwing to the outer half of the plate is simply throwing the ball into the ball bucket. Then, as your athlete gets more confident, take a cinder block. First, lay it flat. Do not stand it upright. Lay it flat. Again, put the ball bucket on the outer half of home plate, their glove side. Works for a right-handed pitcher, left-handed pitcher. You're obviously going to go facing home plate to the right side of home plate, forcing them to get out in front of their nose, out in front of their knee, throwing to their glove side. The number one drill and the number one foundation piece to pitching that we all need to be focused on with young pitchers is throwing strikes to their glove side with their fastball. If we take the time to simply focus our young athletes on that one aspect, not curveballs, not cutters, not all of these other fancy pitches. We don't need, pitching instructors to start talking about gathering, hand separation. What we need is for athletes. This is a version of playing competitive catch, which I'm going to get to in a moment. When you get your athlete to think about throwing to their glove side consistently, making it fun, creating a competition, get a ball in the ball bucket, get 5 points, hit the bucket, get 3 points, those types of things, and then add up. And then every day you're keeping a log. I did that with both my boys, particularly my youngest son, who loved that game. He loved being competitive. It's fun. It's simple. I could throw 10, but he could throw 10 balls. He could throw 40 balls. We were just playing catch. We weren't trying to be competitive. Next, what I want you to understand is once you get that drilled down and your athlete is confident with that, we now want to play competitive catch. So competitive catch for boys and girls that are 8 to say 12 or 13 means having a glove and letting them hit the target. So for instance, my boy glove kind of right near my face, and I would say to them, if they hit the glove, that's 5 points. If they hit me in the chest, that was 3 points. Anywhere within my shoulders was 1 point. Anything outside my shoulders was 0. Now, that's in my book, The Process, something I share with a lot of families. When you get your children to play competitive catch, creating a game, they in turn will start to focus a little bit more. When we just play catch and the glove side is falling all over the place and we're basically playing chuck and run and the ball's going over our head and the ball's going into the ground, that's not teaching them anything. Number one with youth pitching is having purpose and intent with every ball they throw, meaning muscle memory is obtained through repetition. So if we take wasted repetitions, we're creating sloppy retention. We're creating wasted retention. We're not really creating anything that we can take as a habit or a skill and take that to the mound. Bear in mind, when your son, your athlete, is on a pitching mound, and as the parent of a pitcher who still pitches at 32, I still get this to this day. The brightest spotlight is always going to be on the pitcher. So when we start to hear people yell, just play catch, just throw strikes, let them hit it, I can promise you that's what they're trying to do. But unless you've stood on a mound with an umpire, with a catcher, with a hitter, with a crowd, with a team behind you, you don't understand that young pitchers are tightening, they're stressing. So if we allow them to play catch competitively and do that first drill, which leads to the second drill of competitive catch, while they're very, very young, as they get older, as they move more fluidly and athletically, as they get bigger, faster, stronger, their catch skills and in turn their pitching skills will ramp up. And you'll see confident pitchers. Now, I told you I want to keep this really simple this time around, and I'm going to give you the next tip for a pitcher that is 12 to 15, really 10 to 15 or 16. And I want parents to understand, When I'm working with young pitchers, and I work with a lot of pitchers, you know, I have a young man right now that was struggling last year. He's now at a postgraduate level. We really simplified a lot of things, but one of the biggest things we did, we're so worried about velocity as parents of pitchers. We're so worried about spin rates and analytics and metrics and vertical and horizontal. Let me explain to you one basic fundamental flaw that every young pitcher experiences. They do not understand the power and the skill of deceleration. We're so pumped up to talk acceleration, velocity. We're so pumped up to talk about breaking ball and the spin and fooling hitters, when in reality, the number one separator for pitching at the high school level, at the college level, at the professional level is those pitchers that have developed the skill set of learning the skill and the craft of deceleration, changeup. Now, when I am talking with parents and we start to sit down and we start to talk about changeup, all the big people that do lessons, oh, they're too young, they're too this. Here's the number one thing to understand as a parent of a pitcher. Your child is going to grow up. And when they grow up, they're going to get bigger. Their hands are going to get bigger. They're going to get taller. They're going to weigh more. They're going to be more athletic. They're going to be faster and stronger. That's a given. That's part of childhood. Don't worry if you're throwing a changeup and there's not a lot of separation when you're 10, 11, and 12. Meaning, if your fastball goes one speed and the changeup really doesn't do a whole heck of a lot, that will come. What you need to understand is you need to get your student athlete comfortable with not throwing a baseball with those two fingers. The two fingers for a fastball are your pointer and your middle finger. Your changeup is going to come off the middle or the ring finger. Okay, so that's a changeup grip. Now, there's lots of variations. Your child's hand is going to determine how they hold the ball. If you want to have them put their knuckle in the middle of the ball and hold it like that, you can. What I'm trying to get more parents to understand is those athletes that over the last 30 years, and I have one boy pitching in the SEC today. He throws 85, 89, but he has a changeup that his high school coaches who played for me taught him as an eighth and ninth grader. The changeup is the pitch that all boys should grow up with and learn and have in their arsenal before they start to try to spin it, because it's nothing more than a fastball with a different grip. So understand, throwing strikes is the key to being a good pitcher. When you throw a fastball, you're using these two fingers, and most boys will throw with these two or these three on occasion. But they're so confident when they throw a fastball because they grow up gripping a ball basically like this with their middle finger over their thumb. When you teach them to throw a changeup and play catch with the changeup and play catch with the changeup often, just have them hold the ball, put it off to the side, put their fingers off to the side, have them focus on the middle and the ring fingers and let the ball come off those fingers. Just let them get comfortable with that grip. It might take a year, it might take 2 years, 3 years, but I promise you, if your student athlete can learn to play catch with a two-seam fastball, a four-seam fastball, a two-seam changeup, a four-seam changeup, and just understand the role that the different fingers play in releasing the baseball, it will help them as they get older. So to kind of give you the abridged version of today's lesson, don't worry about velocity, worry about location. And the best form of location when you know your student athlete is really evolving as a pitcher is when they can consistently throw a baseball over home plate to a catcher with a hitter in the box to their glove side, right-handed pitcher facing a right-hand hitter. He's throwing the ball on the outer half of home plate. He's throwing it there consistently. Once that athlete is able to do that and they have learned that skill, you begin to teach them the four quadrants: the outer half, the inner half, up and in, down and away, and you begin to work the four quadrants of the strike zone. Then you mix in the changeup grip. My youngest son literally used to give up home runs on changeups. Everybody would laugh. As he got older and into high school, the best pitch that he used in high school, college, at Vanderbilt, professionally, was his changeup. He could throw it 3-0, 3-1, 3-2. He had that much confidence because we played catch with our changeup. Striking out on curveballs is overrated. You can't fool hitters as they get older. They become more aware of the strike zone. So, parents, make sure you're playing competitive catch. Use the two drills that I gave you earlier in this discussion. Ball bucket on the ground, let them throw the ball, teaches them to get on top of the ball, throwing downhill into that ball bucket. A lot of people, like in Asian countries, Japan, they put a white towel. I find that to be a little bit tougher because athletes can't see the towel. That's a famous Tom House drill that he learned from being over in Japan. Take the ball bucket. College coaches do this drill when pitchers are getting too underneath the ball or off to the side of the ball. Next, put it on a concrete cinder block. Put the bucket on the cinder block, laying it down. It moves it up a little bit, kind of gives them the appeal of throwing into a strike zone. And then finally, make sure you're playing competitive catch each and every day with your student athlete. They don't need lessons. One bonus tip, because I had a parent today ask me this: wind up or stretch. The simplest thing to understand is if I take a look at a lot of Japanese pitchers, most of them all pitch out of the stretch. And the reason for that is it simplifies their mechanics. It's nothing more than a gather of the knee, a dropping of the ankle, and then a separation of the ball and glove, and then we deliver the pitch. Windups, they can add confusion. They can create lateness. They can create foot placement at foot strike where you're either closed too early or you're flying open. So if we just do a out of the stretch and you focus on lifting so that the knee comes to the belt height, dropping the ankle down, and then taking the ankle towards home plate and pitching, that will simplify mechanics, allowing your athlete to have more success throwing balls over the plate, getting hitters to be aggressive. The number one tool for pitchers is to get hitters to make a decision. If you don't make hitters make a decision, they just stand there, they get very passive, they walk, your fielders get bored. As a pitcher, your job as a young pitcher is to get hitters to make a decision on every ball you throw. I want to say thank you to everyone that took the time to send me these questions. This is the type of content that I'm going to be creating in my members section each and every week. We're going to do a couple of pitching videos, a couple of hitting videos, a couple of fielding videos, but I wanted to give you a taste of what's going to be included in the membership. Keep the questions coming. Really appreciate parents that are taking the time to engage with the content and send me the questions. On TikTok, make sure you're finding your way over to the YouTube channel, Coach Beede, YouTube, Coach Beede. Find your way over there, subscribe, that's free. Folks, I encourage you to be part of the membership, get your courses. I appreciate it. This Wednesday, it's Tuesday, I'm going to be doing a NCAA and NAI. I'm going to have a coach on from one of each of those divisions. We're going to talk about recruiting and the changes. And then on Thursday, I'm going to have a live with two Division III coaches, head coach at Southern Maine at Scotty, and I'm going to be talking to Brian Casey at Coast Guard Academy this week in the Coach's Corner segment on my membership side of my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to talking with you next week.